Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derbies, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of May Mania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Crash Course, episode number 326 on deck for us this evening. Excited to have you along for the ride here tonight. We have a fairly stacked show on deck tonight. It's going to be a fun one. Got to make a quick adjustment here. This camera has a mind of its own. Keeps wanting to turn, shifting around on me here a little bit back and forth. It's a issue. I think the cable is actually too tight. I had it set twice now, and it seems like it wants to move. So, anyway, flying solo tonight, Brian is, he's been forced to work this evening, so we're not going to be seeing him. Nonetheless, we persevere. We're going to be talking with Guy Raymond a little bit about a busy 7 to 14-day stretch that he's had here through Pennsylvania. Picked up a couple wins down there. We're also going to be catching up with Brenden Whisman, who had some success at Courthouse Crash in Ohio with the Unified Point Series. So we've got that on deck. Dana Brellinger coming away with the win over the weekend. Sam Williams. So we got some news on Jacob Pruisman. Got some news on Domination Motorsports to get to. Going back in time a little ways, Parker Lazenby came away with a big $5,000 victory in his home area. So congratulations out to him on that win. Birthday wishes out to Patrick Osmond. Pat had a birthday since the last time we were together. Also had some family challenges, so our thoughts going out to him. The fight continues for James Brown's brothers, Jerry. They were halfway to their goal last time I checked in with them, and I saw a post today from Ed Brewster, a good friend down there in Midlothian, Virginia. He is halfway through his radiation treatments, so 5 down, 5 to go for him. Hopefully they hit on something special and bought our buddy out a little bit more time. It would be nice to see. Seeking people that bought more time. Tom Bell, out there, I saw him in face paint on one of his Facebook stories. He, of course, doing well in his recovery from beating cancer again, and out there enjoying the fall season, as it were. Hunting and everything beginning to pick up around here. Guy Raymond is waiting in the wings. We appreciate Guy coming and hanging out with us. If you have any questions or thoughts that you want to share with us, by all means, feel free to drop those into the live chat. We've got that being monitored here as well, kind of trying to keep all of the plates on the sticks here, guys, on the line. Guy, man, out in the shop trying to clean everything up. Usually that shop's pretty clean, but when you got a busy couple weeks like you've had, it can get away from you, I guess.
Yes, sir.
So tell me a little bit about what this stretch has been. Picking up a win at Big Diamond, and then turning around and picking up a win at Penn Can before running second place in the same night. It's a pretty nice stretch of time there for a derbier who doesn't have a hometown to run at right now.
Yep, that was the craziest thing, was finding places to run this year. We planned on running quite a few shows this summer that were all postponed or canceled. And to switch the cars up 3 or 4 times between shows was a little bit difficult.
Sure.
Especially with all the different rules of each show, every show is a little bit different. And this car, I took the Big Diamond, I changed it 3 times, 3 different shows, 3 different styles of bumpers that were mounted, and I was surprised with how well it did.
Well, now, why do you say that? Is it because you had so much time putting stuff on, taking stuff off, and Frankensteining the thing together?
It was pretty easy. The rules themselves, like I said, I started out, I wanted to run RRE this year.
Sure.
Up at Road Rage Entertainment with Jason Sherman. And it was a bolt-on bumper rule. So, okay, we can shorten the cars, but we can only bolt them on. So I went with my normal pick bolt-on bumper, just a regular box Ford bumper. And that was pretty easy to convert from that show to another show that allowed plates. Well, halfway through pitting the plates on there, I'm like, okay, well, there's a new show that popped up, like, within a few weeks of it, down at Big Diamond. And I'm like, man, I've already started mounting this on there, and their rules say you're allowed 4x12s, 2 per rail, and I'm like, come on, really? I just started adding the 8x6 bracket for the show I was going to take it to, and then to convert all that over to a 4x12, I just like, you know what, I left it and added one more plate.
Sure.
So it was just the conversion, like I said, it was about 3 or 4 days conversion between the 3 of them, but between driving a box truck and doing my own thing on my off hours, it was not too bad.
Right. It didn't sound like it was too bad coming over with the wind on there. What was the Big Diamond rule set like, and what was the event like?
The event itself, for the first time, I think it's the first time they've ever had a derby down there at that racetrack, and it was my first trip down there, and I'd say I was way underbuilt. I mean, compared to the cars I was running against cars that, you know, the rules strictly said 4x12. Well, I didn't know when I got there that 4x12 means you could put one in front of the other. Some of those cars were plated 24x4.
Right.
And I just showed up with a little 7x8 plate and a little 3x3 on the top and a basic cage. And I do what I normally do. Like I said, I'm a social butterfly at derbies. I talk to people all the time. Some people say I talk too much, but I went around, met people I never knew before, ran into some people I did know before, and it was a pretty decent show. Like I said, you know, I was surprised it did as well as it did. I met some new buddies that I've never knew in my life. I finally met some people that were out of the area and seemed pretty cool and have a lot of the same interests in build styles as myself.
Mm-hmm. You took a Toyota down there?
Yes, I took a 01 Solara I picked up in Scranton, PA for $100. And it was sketchy on how we picked it up and brought it home, but we got her home, and she seemed to be pretty solid, running good. I knew nothing about it. We built it, like I said, 3 different times, and it's the basic build for all cars, and I'm surprised they came away with that, because there were some cars down there that were way better than mine, and everybody says it all the time, it's driver, not car.
How did the feature play out then?
Feature, what they did is they had, I think it was 52 or 54 cars.
Wow.
They divided them up into 2 heats. And the craziest thing is they only took 3 from each heat. So to get the 3 in a heat of like 25 to 27 cars with the car I had, I knew it was a good car, but it was just not the par of the cars it was running against. So to get to that point, there was a little making friends and working together. And like I said, it must be that not too many people knew me or know of me. And that's the best part about it. Like I said, I wasn't trying to play that game, but it was the only game I had down there.
Sure.
You know, and to go out, I knew my car could compete. It just, to win, it was a whole different thing. I never even imagined I would.
Well, you put that one under wraps down there, taking an underbuilt car to Big Diamond. Big Diamond, I want to say they've had derbies down there before. I seem to remember Big Diamond and Grandview being on the Smashmaster schedule back in, I'd say, 2012, 2013, somewheres in that time frame, I think. But I could be wrong on that, at least in terms of Big Diamond. So you got that one under wraps and came back home, and 14 days later you head down to Pencan and almost win a pair of them. How'd Pencan go?
Well, Pencan for me was like one of those shows where I didn't even know about it until like maybe a week and a half before I went to Big Diamond, and I go, you know what? That was another thing, is that Solara I took to Big Diamond. I up and down about taking it to Pencan, but then the car I was going to take to Diamond I felt was too built, because I do have a limited weld car sitting in the garage.
Sure.
I don't want to tow a car that I know blatantly is overbuilt 3 hours from home to have it get cut apart.
Right.
You know, so I'm like, you know, we'll just take the Solara. Did well with that. Brought the Solara back from Big Diamond. Surprisingly, after the feature, it was still a straight car. So I basically just fixed the back 2 tires, made some clearance, changed the plugs in the car, because loading it on at Big Diamond, it made a pop noise and started running really, really bad. So I figured maybe it was plugs or something. So I stuck plugs in it, ran perfect. So I said this one's going to go to Pencan, because that's where it was going to go in originally.
Right.
And then 4 days before the show, I had a Avalon sitting here, 98, 99 Avalon, that It's a pretty rusty car. I wasn't going to lie to anybody. It's bad. And I said, if I'm going to go that close to home, because Tin Can from my house is only probably about 40 minutes, I'm going to take 2 cars, just because the pre-ran doesn't seem good enough. And for $1,500, why not take 2, have double the chance? And that's what I did. I took 2 down there, and the first heat, when I ran the rusty car, I got tracked pretty much in the driver's door from the word go. And most people would fluster them, get them angry. I just said, you know what, I'm going to slow it down. So the guy that hit me, I sat on him until I had a buddy come through and clear the wheel. After that, the rest of it was back to the patient game. That first heat was probably one of the hardest hitting demos that I've been in probably 10 years.
That's saying something. I mean, that's saying a lot when you think about some of the places that you've been over the last 10 years, you know, with some of the events that we've seen at Broome County and some of the trips that you made to Morris for various events. That's saying something.
Yeah, and I honestly, this is my opinion too, is I think it's not exactly the demo itself that was the hardest. It might have been the builds, because I'm telling you, in the last 5 years, the few shows that I have tripped to and seeing the cars, they're getting crazy. These compact cars are starting to become little cinder blocks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's probably part of what led into being the heaviest hitting show in the last 10 years. But somehow, at the end of that demo, me and a car named Junkie, I think the guy's first name is Adam, we had a pretty good 22-minute chess match at the end. So that first heat on Saturday had a little bit of everything. It was heavy hitting, then it slowed down, and it was paceful, and then it also had the chess match at the end. And somehow I came along with it. He was running a newer Honda, and about 10, 12 shots to the trunk, I finally started getting into the belly a little bit, and it slowed him down enough to where I can get to the wheels.
Was this the car that had that crazy gas tank protection system in the back built through the windows?
Nope, this was just the car I threw together. The crazy car was the limited weld that I was going to take to Big Diamond, but their rules with Ryan Fisher and those guys, they do a great job down there, but I just didn't want to cut that car apart.
Sure. Yeah, that's the tank protector in that one, that's a work of art. You don't want to cut that up.
Yeah, this whole car is a work of art. It's got a lot done to it, and if we have enough time, I could probably go through a lot of things I've done to it, because it's crazy.
Well, we're going to dive into that. I mean, we've learned a lot. You've been on the show a couple different times, and we've got a pretty good familiarity with your build theory and stuff like that. And we'll get to the mechanics of that stuff here in just a second. But just take me quickly through that second round at Penn Can. You picked up the win, and then it was the same car or a different car that you brought out for the second round where you took second?
The second round, I ran the car for Big Diamond.
Okay.
It was the Solara. It was still pretty nice. The back end rolled nice. The front end was still straight. That car, I chose to run the pre-ran second heat only because I knew a few more people out there, and I knew I wouldn't have to drive as hard as the first heat. That's why the rustier, fresh one was in the first heat. You know, it's kind of, you do your studies of who shows up and who's in what heat, and then you decide which car's going to be run first there. You know,
right.
You're playing, like, I know people tell me all the time I talk too much, and I do, but I also think a lot when I pull in the pits and I see cars lying around, and I just see, I go with my best chess match.
Mm-hmm. So, you ever had a stretch like this before?
A few times. Locally, yes. Traveling like I have, no, but I think also being the fact that the coronavirus has shut down a lot of things, there are some people that are afraid to go out. Some people are stuck choosing which shows they're going to run. You know, I'm not saying I'm not saying I'm the best around or whatever, because some people seem to think I am, but I just think that I'm very good at choosing which shows I want to run with which cars I have. You know, you always put yourself in that best position to where you have a chance.
Sure. You know, measuring build rules and what you've got, knowing your driving style, knowing what your comfort level is, it certainly does help. Yep. We've talked about how your times an army of one don't often have a lot of help in the pits, which leads you a lot of times to build under what the maximum of the rule would be, because you don't have necessarily all hands on deck to do a bunch of extra cutting. You don't necessarily have all of the high-tech stuff in the shop to do all the extreme things either. So tell me a little bit more about that and how we've gotten to the spot that we are in right now with you picking up a couple wins and being a little successful, people picking on you a little bit and saying, hey, you've got an inflated sense of self versus just being somebody who, look, I know what I got, I know what I can do, I know what my wheelhouse is, and I just stay in that lane.
And that's the thing is, a lot of it is involvement with things. About 15 years ago, we'll say I started derbying 22 years ago, and the first 4 years was big cars. Well, that's right when big cars first started taking off with these race motors and the cradles. And
sure.
And I remember a huge thing talk about sliders, and now sliders are like everyday chat.
Right.
So to me, back then, I was way outclassed. So I was like, all right, well, I need to find a place where I fit home and what I like to do. I like to smash cars like everyone else, but I can't afford those parts. So I hopped into a compact car.
Right.
And I've said this to a few people at the tracks, and if we talk to them personally, they'd probably say the same thing. The sport has evolved so quick that it used to be smash the windows and driver would win the show.
Right.
Well, within the last 10 years, it went to the guy that has the parts, the guy that's willing to put the money in the cage and tires and bumpers and stuff. And now it's been 22 years for me, and I've saved up a lot of that stuff. I have the bumpers, I have the tires, and I have the cages, and it's evolved to you got to have a friend that has all that stuff. So the sport itself has changed so quick. It's just trying to evolve with it is the hardest part, and I just stay consistent. That's all I ask is I want to go to a derby, and I want to be competitive. At 90% of the shows I go to, and this is the truth, I go to want to win, but if I don't win, it doesn't bother me. I'll go to the next one.
Sure. I remember you had a bit of a hot streak after Broome County. We had an in-car camera. You went second place with Richie Predmore and turned around and picked up a couple wins. And the weeks following that, running around back in the days with Eddie Bello as regular. I think that same weekend you got a win in Vans. This is going back probably 2011, 2012, something like that. And then had a little bit of a rebuilding period and got back into a swing where you picked up a couple more wins back in 2015, 2016. And it culminated really a couple of years after that when you had that big run. I think it was 2015, 2016. And it culminated with that big run that you had at, I think it was Wheel Days. Had a strong showing there.
It all started Wheel Days, I think, that year.
Yeah. It's a little bit cyclical. Is it a product of using all of the stuff up and then having to rebuild so that you've got everything in terms of spares and the parts, or is it just luck?
I think a lot of people would say luck. A lot of people would tell me that I know more than what I know, but I think it's a combination of everything. Like I said before, I think it's the evolution. You have to build and adapt. And with the times we're having now, I know everyone's got an opinion, but I think the times with now is a lot of people are overlooking the little things. They're more worried about building these monster cars in our area, I'd say. I'm not going to say other places, but around here, people are too busy with having these cars that look nasty with a bumper and a tire and stuff like that. They're too busy focusing on the bumper and the tires and the cages, and they're not looking at the littles.
Right. Sure.
Between the suspension and the CV shafts and the tie rods and all that stuff, people are, yes, they're trying to build a progress to compete, but I think they're progressing too far.
Yeah.
And I'm still keeping basics. My cars still are just a car with a bumper, cage, and tires, and a lot of littles. So, like you said, I've had a few runs here and there, and I think the runs consist with being persistent, and not giving up. There's a lot of times that between the years from, we'll say, my runs have started since 2009 when I won my very first feature, and we're back here in 2020 now. 11 years later, it took me 10 years to win my first feature. And 11 years later, I'm still doing the same thing I've been doing, just picking up more wins. Sure. And maybe a lot of it is luck, but also I've been running enough of the same cars over and over. I know exactly what's going to break and what's it going to do.
Right, mitigating your risk factor in the long term there. I get that. Now, in my time around the state, going to some different events, different places, within the state. Some of the in Northeast, for that matter, a lot of the conversations that I'm running into are the drivers are bored of building that. They still want to be able to use their lower cradles. They still want to be able to use their sliders. Still want to be able to use their rear ends because theoretically those are just about lifetime buys. By the same token, they're tired of having to put all the extra time into the builds and things like that. So I can see a little bit of a different side of it. But at the same time, in the different conversations that you know I've had, and there's been a number of them in the last 10 years, you're a Derby purist. You're a guy who worries about his hometown fair first, worries about making sure that the bills are paid before you get involved in a demolition derby. You like the idea of the knock the glass out and go derbies versus the stuff that's a little bit more built. And you gravitated home first. How is it that we got to a point where you're going to Pennsylvania and winning derbies this year?
Well, the reason I'm heading to Pennsylvania is there's two reasons. One, Pennsylvania is the only place having derbies this year.
Fair.
Two, I'm a Pennsylvanian. I came from Pennsylvania. I was born in Pennsylvania. I lived there till I was about 12 years old, and we moved to New York. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's kind of like a homecoming. Get me able to go down there, meet guys I've seen. There's a show down in Pennsylvania I've been going to for the last 10 years. Every time I go, I meet somebody new in my family. So it's kind of weird because, like I said, I'm not saying turn my back on that show, but I'm almost to the point where I'm not running that show anymore. But right. The only reason I go is to meet my family because as a kid, I was pulled away from that side. So, like I said, for me, Pennsylvania is a homecoming / it's the only place to run right now. And I'm right on the border living in Appalachian. I can go to New York, Pennsylvania within 4 miles.
Right. The town that you're in, Appalachian, now that we all know how to appropriately say it, and I've been coached on this a long time and still don't do a great job of remembering it. Where you're at there, you're close to the border. You can get down into Pennsylvania relatively easily. Still, there was a lot of almost I don't know if resistance is the right word, but I'll go with resistance to traveling a little bit and focusing so much at home. You didn't have the resources to go do it. You didn't have the time necessarily to go do it. You had some family with some health challenges that you didn't want to put them at risk of. But now that you've been able to branch out and do that, is it likely now that we will see you try and branch out a little bit further? Maybe catch a show at the Keystone Nationals. Maybe go down and run with Hardcore. Maybe make the way into Ohio and try a little bit of that traveling stuff, because I really believe, and I've said this to you before, that if you could find the way to get to some of these shows, I think you've got the opportunity to be successful.
And I have no doubt I can be successful anywhere I run. Mm-hmm. I went to Bash for Cash in 2017 out there. Right. And I think that might have swayed my thinking on the heavier built cars too. Right. Because I had a lot of money and time into that car. And like I said, every derby I thought I had a chance. Well, I went out there and I didn't have a chance. I ended up finishing 8th out of 23 in the heat, and I thought I did pretty good for my first time out there. But to see what they build out there, that is a whole different game, Ohio is.
Absolutely.
So that jump, we didn't have Keystone Nationals then. We didn't have what they call Florida Nationals or Chaos in Virginia. Mm-hmm. You know, to speak about traveling, we did have plans in the schedule this year to go to Chaos. Nice. That's what my limited weld car was built for, the one with that cage. Sure. But the reason why we didn't go was this coronavirus. My wife, she's a teacher's assistant, and the schools were just getting fired back up. Right. And Virginia was on the list. So we just 2 months ago, we decided that as much as we wanted to, it was easier just to stay home because she'd be getting back in the swing of things. I don't think that derby ever happened, did it? I don't know. I think it's still October 17th and 18th coming month, next week. But honestly, that's what I wanted to go to was the fall show, and just for her health reasons too, we didn't want to subject her to people out of state just in case that is something that happens. Right. And also with school, like I said, we working right now. For me, I'm a driver. I haven't really driven anything. I'm doing what they call idle. That's why I've been having a lot of time and focus on my cars. Sure. Is because I haven't been driving. And then my wife, she's just getting back in the swing, and we don't want to risk the chance of her having to quarantine. Right. You know, and she has health issues anyways. That's a whole different story, but we fight that every day also. Right. So everybody is subjected to their own hurdles, and this whole Army of One thing, like I said, is at the end of the day, you only got yourself.
Sure.
You know, you could have closest friends and family, but the Derby, and like I said, in my blood, has been running deep for over 25 years.
How'd you end up getting into it anyway?
Honestly, you go back to the Pennsylvania thing. When I don't remember how old I was. First thing I remember, honestly, I think we've talked about this on the show before, is Troy, Pennsylvania, sitting at the top of the grandstands, seeing a white clamshell wagon get pushed over the logs was the first time I remember, and that had to have been when I was like 6 or 8.
Right.
And I've been hooked ever since. The noise, the cars, you know what I mean? Like, I've always believed, I didn't think it was for everybody. You know what I mean? I thought it was almost like your show you have at your fairs or your horse polls, or I thought it was something that the people came in and did. But to learn what I have, to come from what I have in the sport, building chain and bang cars to building almost limited weld cars now, it's crazy, because the biggest thing in the sport is evolution. If you stick at one spot too long, you get comfortable, and then you start to fail, and then I have to go rebuild myself again.
Sure.
And I've done that numerous times over the years.
Well, it's every couple of years it works out well, though.
Yeah, you go back to drawing board, and you have to reinvent the wheel, they say, and figure out, like, what is everybody doing, take a look what they're doing, and involve. And I think a lot of it is you take 2 or 3 years and try to play catch-up, and then you fall behind 10 years, and this sport, like I said, has changed so fast. It's so hard to stay up there, and the only thing I can say in my career is it's more of an up and down, valley and hill thing, that I just try to stay consistent. You know, there's way more derbies that I've lost than I've won, and I've won quite a few of them.
Sure. I think there's a lot of people that can have the same record too. You know, if you're going out and you're winning every one of them like John Shipley is this year, it certainly took a lot of losses to get that good.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I taken my fair share of bumps, bruises, headaches, nights before out here till 4 in the morning building cars, and it's just, you learn from those mistakes, and that's a lot of where I don't overlook the little things. I try to make sure I go over my car the night before, and then I also go over it the morning before I load it. And then right before go on the track, I'm looking at it again.
Right.
And that's just something that's engraved. You can tell people what to do and tell them how to do it, but until they actually start doing it, they'll never understand.
Right. You know, we've had that conversation about the big car guys too, is those big cars can, you can buy any part possible, any part that you need. You can go to any of these big shows. Bash for Cash is a great example. Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, Capital City Carnage, any of those events. Winter Slam. Winter Slam's not exempt from this either. You can find everything you need to build a car in the pits that day. You bring a tall enough stack of cash, and even if the ink's still wet on those hundreds with all of them having the same serial numbers, you can buy anything you need in the pits that day.
And contacts are starting to get that way too.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that they're exempt in any means. But the problem is you can buy everything that you want. You can buy everything that you see on TV. You can buy everything that you see on Facebook. But if you don't know how to put it together the right way, all you're doing is wasting money. And there's no replacement for seat time. We talked about this just a couple of days ago when you and I were talking, is there's no replacement for preparation, no replacement for experience, no replacement for seat time. Those factors can trump any amount of money that you invest in your car, regardless of the level, whether it's a Lumina or a Toyota, a clamshell wagon, or a 75 two-door GM. It's just that there's no replacement for those three things, and those are intangibles. You can't buy them to put them in your car to begin with. You have to either have them or don't.
Yep, and that's the thing, is it's know-how. A lot of it is know-how, know your car. You know, and you can't overdrive your car too, because I've seen it too many times before. A lot of young kids get all the best equipment, and I mean, their cars are awesome, and they go out and overdrive it.
Right. And that's the thing too. Christy Germain's in the live chat. Camerino Box by Jeffy's Fab Farm. Not wrong. You can buy everything you need from. You're a run it as it comes guy, right? You don't do a lot of motor swaps, do you?
No, just in the last 2 years I've started changing a few of the bad 6-cylinders I get, but most of the time I run whatever comes in it. And then, like I said, the 6-cylinders from the 4-cylinders, the only difference between a 6 and a 4-cylinder Toyota is the 6-cylinders have a little more power, and the wiring is a lot more difficult than a 4-cylinder. But the reason why people, I think, are gravitating to Camrys is because of all the little bolt-on parts they have. They make it simple to build one.
Sure.
You know, if you got a 6-cylinder out there, I think a 6-cylinder would outrun a 4-cylinder all day. Yes, the heat's a factor, but that's where experience comes in. That's where at Penn Can Saturday, it come down to me in a little 4-cylinder Honda. I had a 6-cylinder Avalon, and he just overheated his car. And that guy was a good, smart driver. We ran for 22 minutes, and I had a 22-minute heat feature. At the end of that 20 minutes, it was the first 16 minutes, and then it went for another 22 with no water in my 6-cylinder.
Wow.
So that was all foot play, you know, trying to figure out how hard to push, and then if he was pushing, hit or neutral and wait. And when the radiator hose blew early, I just sat back and waited and let the thing clear out. And it's just know-how. Your cars, you got to know what you're running. You can't just show up and drive it through the woods.
That is a fact. You said it all right there. We got Brenden Whisman waiting here, and we're going to be getting with him. Is there anybody that you want to make mention of or recognize here before we let you go?
Everybody who's stuck around over the years, you know, I appreciate helping everybody who needs a hand. You know, between my buddy Tyler, my other buddy Brent, there's guys I met at the track that I don't even really know their first name, but if I see them, I can tell you who they are. And it's just my wife, she lets me out here every single day that I'm not working, and when she's at work, I'm turning wrenches.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's you got to make time to make money, right?
Yes, and to me, this has kind of become a job this year because there was nothing else going on. So I've spent so many man hours in the shop this year, and these 2 wins, some people can call them luck. Some of my friends call it overdue because I've been out here every day, sun up, sun down, as much as I can, you know, and the fine shows to run, like we said earlier, the fine shows to run are few, far, and in between, and when you're a diehard derby guy, you're going to find some place to go.
Right on.
You know?
Well, Guy, we've said it all. I always enjoy when you come on the show. We could have soaked up the whole hour bouncing back and forth the ideas and some of the theories and some of the thoughts, and recapping, doing some bench racing, and going back over some of the wins and successes and stuff that you've had. I look forward to doing it again. And congratulations for sure on the win at Big Diamond down in Penn Can.
Yes, it was a fun time.
To say the least, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. Now on to the next one.
Very well, man. Well, good luck. Stay in touch, and we'll be talking to you soon, I hope.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chris.
You bet, man. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. There goes Guy Raymond. Appreciate Guy making some time to come on the show and hang out with us here for a little while. It's always got a unique perspective. I enjoy having conversations with Guy about Demolition Derby and where things are at and how things have evolved. And I don't think anybody's going to argue that the sport has definitely evolved quickly and evolved in a way that probably none of us saw coming at different intervals. Well, we got a quick moment getting Brenden on the line, tell you a little bit about Smith Metalworks. Smith Metalworks online, smithmetalworks.info. Experience and passion second to none. Smith Metalworks is an all-purpose fabrication shop that is taken... Brenden? You there? Uh-oh. Hello? All-purpose fabrication shop that has taken the Northeast by storm. Smith Metalworks features more than 40 years of combined metalworking experience. The hallmark of the product line is the pointed and flat front bumpers. You also don't want to overlook that super stock front bumper either. It is a premier bumper. Flat bumpers have been going on the backs of most of these machines. They can be stuffed or hollow. There's also a compact version of the pointed bumper. Other items include the Crown Vic door skins, battery boxes, engine mounting systems, and pedal combos and shifters. The shop offers all the odds and ends such as distributor clamps and welded centers. Be sure to ask about their GM floor liners as well. In-person locations in Mercer, Uniontown, and Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, or they can ship it to you. Jump online at Smith Metalworks, smithmetalworks.info. Jeffy's Fab Farm, we made a reference to them here just a moment ago. Jeffy's Fab Farm is where you can buy a Camry in a box. They've also got all sorts of engine components, which is really where they made their mark in Demolition Derby with the LS conversion components, and all sorts of Derby credentials also came on the heels of the various header offerings, which originally started just as a, hey, might be fun to make some headers for my buddies. Had a great conversation with Jeff Schumann here a couple days ago. It was awesome. We talked for probably 45 minutes or an hour. It was awesome. I really, really enjoyed the company, and He was running quarterback for Jeffy's Fab Farm throughout the whole thing, directing traffic and telling folks what to weld together and what to cut up next. Jeffy's Fab Farm just released the solid 4-cylinder Camry engine mount and also released new header options for the Hyundai Elantra. The Elantra both has 1.8 and 2.0 liter displacements, and the headers fit those. Store offers bumper-to-bumper selection, including fuel and air parts, suspension and transmission items, steering components, pedals, shifters, switches, and gauges if you need it. It's on the farm at jeffysfabfarm.com. Unified Point Series, we're going to be diving into this here in just a minute with Brenden Whisman. Brenden had a heck of a run over the weekend at Courthouse Crash. What's left on the series now is the NDDA Top Dog Bluegrass Bash in Louisville, Kentucky, Rouse Promotion Spring Show. That's in Connersville, Indiana. Both of those are on the 10th of October. October 23rd and 24th is Wicked's Team Derby. That's in Evansville. Hey, this is Chris. Hang on one second. Coke Promotions Turkey Derby rounds out the season November 28th and 29th. That's in Portland, Indiana. We've got Brenden on the line now as well. Points at this point, John Shipley, he's got 96 points, and Don Santel, he's got 90. Notice both of those went up by 10 each, so that's a good sign that both of those picked up wins. We'll get into that. Jeremy Riley, 62 points. Matt Wingrove with 50. Travis Pennick in fifth with 40. Then Jesse Bates. Hang on one second. We'll get you all squared away in just a moment. Jesse Bates, Nick King, and William Close tied for 7th. Rick Furster, Jack Drenovich, and Richard Davis in a tie for 9th right now. Smash It Demolition Derbies, they've got one event left on their schedule. That's the Fall Cleanup Event. Pro Stocks, Modifieds, Trucks, Street Stock, Full-Size, Street Stock Compacts, Stock Minivan, Truck, and SUV also out there, along with the Smash It Compacts and the Power Wheels. That is the last event on their schedule. Online for additional details, smashitderby.com. So we've got Brenden Whisman on the line, we think. Is everything all right, Brenden? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, excellent. Brenden, man, congratulations on the win this weekend. Talk us through it, coming up with a win in the rear-wheel drive street stocks at Courthouse Crash.
I was just, another derby with some of my best friends. It was a real good time. I ended up getting pretty lucky and threw a surfing team belt pretty early, but, fought through it and drove my way down to the bottom. Couldn't ask for a better outcome.
I guess not. Other winners on the weekend, Tony Penwell picked up a win in the pro stock side of things. Brian Cassidy and Caleb Borgid, second and third. Two-man team was Ricky Duggins and Dan Rees winning there. Matt DeGroat and Kelly Taylor teaming up for second. Corey Foster and Mike Owens in third. Brenden had to beat Braden Cole and Logan Harsh through the top three in the rear-wheel drive street stocks. Full-size modifieds, Josh Reynolds winning there. Adam Wilson, Taylor Mazdeni taking third. Front-wheel drive street stocks was John Shipley over Robbie Karen and Colin Webb. And then in the minivans, it was Donovan Howard winning over Kevin Evans and Ryan Teichner. So good win for them there. Tell me about this weekend. I know it's just another derby and stuff like that, but I guess maybe I'm the one that's behind. Have you spent a lot of time in the full-size cars? I remember, it seems to remember in the back of my mind that you guys were focused on street stocks last time I talked to you, or excuse me, on compacts last time we spoke.
Yeah, me and Dad kind of jumped into it head first with the compacts in the youth class at Bash.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of luck, and I got older and kind of outgrew that class, so we figured jump into something different. We started around these, and Dad had a lot of early luck, and he couldn't have asked for a better comeback after 12 years.
Yeah, that's you guys got 2 wins, right, in the youth class at Bash for Cash? You won back-to-back?
Second the first year we ran, and then we came back and won the next year.
Gotcha. And in one of those years, you guys were in danger of not making it, or you had to pull out of the RC feature. Ended up winning the RC feature and went out there and picked up the win in the compact youth class, correct?
Yeah, actually the compact feature ended, and we had Mark Elliott, which I'm sure all you guys know, with the Unified Point Series and
Mm-hmm.
great stuff he's doing. We had him pull my car through inspection, and we dropped the RC stuff and hopped on the golf cart, and by the time we got to the track, everybody else was pulling on, threw our helmets on, and went out and did our thing. It was a close one.
And your dad had to come back, and now you get to share in some of that success too with the full size stuff. Can you walk me through some of the finer details of the feature at Courthouse Crash? I mean, was ever there a point where you looked around and said, this thing's mine to lose?
I try to stay pretty confident when I'm out there, no matter what situation I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
But when I knew it was down to 5 and everybody else was getting hot, and I wasn't steaming or nothing yet, and I kind of figured if I kept doing what I was doing, I'd probably be okay.
Did you have any like an aftermarket engine or anything like that in that to have it stay cool that long, or was it just a stock engine that you took care of?
No, it's stock 4.6. I have a Crown Vic motor that came in it. Had 119,000 miles. Well-kept car. It was definitely a pain. The Tuesday before the Derby, I lost drive in the transmission.
Oh no!
So we kind of had to grind on it the next 3 days or so to get it ready.
What did you do to get that thing put back together?
I had a lot of help from some really good friends of mine.
Yeah.
West Money Break with.
Was it something internal on the transmission? Are you not allowed to say? Interesting. It looks like we may have lost. Looks like we got you still? I heard a pop in the phone. Thought perhaps we still had Brenden there. So we'll. Brenden, you still there? I got nothing on you.
Yeah.
You there? Okay. What happened inside the transmission where you lost drive?
See, we don't really know what exactly happened.
So Wes just waved the magic wand over and it healed?
No, it was we pulled it. We didn't really know. We don't know much about the stock
Gotcha.
transmissions that come in them. So Jeff pulled a tranny out for me, and we got switched as quick as possible.
Gotcha.
And just tried to do our thing. It all worked out. They say the hardest cars are your biggest winners.
Right. Is there anything left of this? Is it going to run again?
Yeah, actually, we're pulling the front end down right now for Connorsville next weekend.
Gotcha. So that's the Alex was excited to go and tape there, but wasn't able to make it go at Courthouse. That's unfortunate. So you're looking at going to the Connorsville, Indiana show. Is this tied at all to chasing points, or is it just a matter of being able to get some derbies in at this point?
It's been a crazy year. We're trying to derby where we can,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not chasing points. I'm more or less there for the ride and doing what I enjoy.
How tough has it been for you to find places to run? I mean, there's been a handful of events that have happened in and around Ohio, but you guys have been facing all sorts of uphill battles in terms of grandstand events at county fairs due to the state-subsidized entities and things like that. So there were certainly some uphill challenges in Ohio, just like what we saw in New York. So compared to what you had planned to do, how many derbies did you actually get in this year?
So normally we just run our county fairs and, whatever pops up, just depending on the cars we got left. But we got pretty lucky with Indiana being pretty open, and Portland seemed they always have a show every other weekend, it seemed like.
Right.
So we always seemed to venture up to Indiana to hit our shows. But we had one show at Preble County this year, real early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And me and, some of my good friends went up there, and I ended up getting lucky that night and pulled off the win there. But it's definitely been different, and it sucks not to have a fair or nothing.
Right.
Because that's more or less pride around here.
I understand that. We've seen some absolute dogfights over a $500 payday and a 2-foot trophy, just because it was the hometown fair, and that's where the bragging rights come from. So I can appreciate what your thinking is on that front. Now, with the assumption that next year is going to be back to normal, and all your county fairs are going to be open again, are you still going to be willing to make that trip into Indiana because of the impression that some of those guys have left you, or are you going to refocus back on the old schedule, if you will?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say no, but yeah, Indiana's been great. You know, all the promoters have been real fair. Couldn't have asked for, you know, a better group of guys to run all them fairs. Props to all of them for, you know, keeping it fair and, you know, just putting on the best show they can. So I'll probably end up going back over just to, you know, support them.
Are we going to be seeing you at any of the big ticket events that happen in that part of the country? You know, you've got plenty of experience on the big stage with the success at Bash for Cash. Now we're going to see you in a full size?
Yeah, it's always on my mind, you know, going motor swap or, you know, going a step up. You know, I'm having fun with what I'm doing now, and you know, if the situation arises and I get a chance to put a motor swap car together, go to a big ticket show and try my luck, and that's never, you know, out of the window or nothing.
Sure. Interesting. So help me out with something here, because I missed it. Your dad had gotten out of Derby for 12 years, so that takes us back well before you were running at Bash for Cash. Did you get him back into the sport as a whole?
Yeah. Yeah, time came around where I was tall enough to reach pedals on something, and we got into mowers, and lawnmowers was a big thing for us for 3 or 4 years. And
I forgot about that. That's right.
Yeah. We decided to build a youth car and, you know, found a Lumina like 5 minutes from the house. Dad, being as picky as he is, did a bunch of research, and, you know, 14, 15-year-old me went out and scared him half to death.
And from there it was off to the races. So once you got to the point where you could drive on your own, did he get into the compacts too? Or did he get back into the full-size stuff and you were still into the compacts running by yourself?
No, we ran the Bash, and, you know, we after the year I had won, I think it was 16, he took the Lumina to, I think it was Lebanon, and we went out against a bunch of AMCs, and then he ended up driving, and I was riding passenger, which I would never wish that on anybody. But he ended up getting second with it, which was pretty cool.
Right.
And then after that, we just started, you know, buying Vicks here and there, and ended up going to street stock. And Dad quit in 2005 after Connorsville, Rumble at the Rock. He had won that show, and, you know, my sister was born at the time, and he just decided it's time to go. And once, you know, as I said, once I was old enough to reach the pedals or do stuff on my own, it was game on, because it's been in my blood. Can't deny it.
Have you ever thought about any other types of motorsports, or has it always been some sort of combative motorsports like this?
Yeah, no, not really. You know, I never really was into racing. Not just, I don't know, just the whole destruction part, the kid in me. Sure. I loved it. You know, it's what I grew up around. Baby pictures of me in diapers and derby cars. That's cool. And now here you are. You got your dad back into it. You guys are building together and going around and running together. And is he going to have a car at Connorsville as well, or just you? Well, Dad actually, he's had some health issues the last couple of years, so he's gotten back out of it. It's just kind of been me and some good friends and, you know, people I call my family, basically. Gotcha. Going around and hitting each show. Well, we wish your dad well. I had the chance to meet him when you guys were running the RC event that year that you guys won, and enjoyed that conversation with you guys. And I certainly do wish you the best in Connorsville over there on the 10th. Again, that's going to be Rouse Promotion Spring Show in Connorsville, Indiana. You're going to go see the car one more time and pull it down, get it all fixed up, and see if you can pull down another victory. It certainly would be cool. Yeah, definitely round out a great year, for sure.
Anybody that you want to make mention of? I know you alluded to the group of guys, the group of friends that you guys travel around with. Anybody else you want to make mention of?
Yeah, I want to thank, Mark Elliott for everything he's done. He's been a real big part of my life for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Him and my dad, ran around together as kids and basically brothers. And everything he's doing with the Unified Point Series, I can't thank him enough for being the man he is.
Well, that all sounds good. Mark listens to the show, so I'm sure he heard that. If he didn't, he's going to go back and check it out because he was pretty excited that you were going to be on the air tonight. So I appreciate you making some time for us and coming on. I know you got some work to do. Get that car together for this coming Saturday. Travel safe, and we wish you the best of luck, man. I hope to hear about another win next weekend.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
There goes Brenden Whisman coming away with the win out there at Courthouse Crash. So to give you a recap, this is what Mark had sent in. There's 3 shows left, as we talked about. Don Santel, 6 points out after his 7th win, and if you could believe that, 7 wins is not enough to get the points lead. John Shipley has 9 wins so far. Jeremy Riley at this point is out of the hunt for first place. Let's pop this back up here so you can see it. This is up-to-date points right here, live as it happens. There's your up-to-date points right there. Jeremy Riley mathematically eliminated from the chance at winning first place. So it's now down to a 2-horse race. At this point, he's going to need Santel to score 0 points the rest of the way in order to even have a hope at getting second. 4th through 7th have an opportunity to take 3rd away. So there is some shuffling yet to be done back there. Matt Wingrove, he's out for 2nd place, but he's 12 points out of 3rd with 3 shows remaining. Looks like Bluegrass Bash may have been taken off the schedule there based on that message that we got recently. Got 2nd in Portland, Indiana. This was about Brenden. I forgot to ask him about this. 2nd in Portland, Indiana, losing 2 front teeth early in the race and kept going. Took 2nd place out of that one. What a run it has been so far, thus far, for everybody involved with that Unified Point Series. Scott Brown misses the fantasy league. We had enough stuff going on in the fall. We were not even close to being able to make that happen the way that we wanted to. I had forgotten about it. I had a couple other people ask about it as well, but we were not going to be able to get that up off the ground the way that we had planned. So we skipped it this year. That's not to say that it's never going to happen again. We've taken years off before and come back. We're just going to wait for it to make its grand return, and we'll see again hopefully next year. A couple other housekeeping items here as we work down through the end of episode number 326. Let's go ahead and pop that camera on, and we'll go here. Monster Mash featuring the Dominate in the Dirt Point Series in Cherokee did not disappoint. 125 entries, if you can believe that. What a turnout. There wasn't anything in terms of slack or slow-paced features out there. The Cherokee County Fair Board gave Domination Motorsports and Candace Joe the opportunity to have 2 derbies this year, and they were 2 excellent ones front to back. It was a little chilly through the course of the weekend, but they got the thing in, and now the season moves on to the Pumpkin Smash at the Ottawa Dragway in Ottawa, Iowa on October the 17th for what I believe is the last event of their schedule. Lawnmowers. Cash Deeds won that one. The Mod Grudge match was Team Busch Light, Craig Birkenpass and Mike Worth running together in that front-wheel drive hobo class. Gavin Sargent winning in that one. Weld Compacts, it was Booger coming away with the win there. Eric Johnson won the front-wheel drive hobo round number 2. Kevin Ullman won the minivan derby. Full-size hobo was a tie with Ben Lockwood and Deanna Lammers there. Street stock weld class, Josh Turner won. The Dominator Awards, hobos 1 and 2 went to Terry Pruce and Sonny Worth. Weld Compacts went to Booger with a win, by the way. Just remember that. Mad Dog and the victory. Montana Else winning the Dominator Award in the minivans. Full-size hobo was Ben Lockwood again, first place. Tie for first place and Mad Dog Award. Jared Ullman in the street stock side of things, taking the Dominator Award there. Quick note, Robbie Gustin finishes the season as the champion. Marcella Benjamin, how many wins do you need to get on live? You just tell me when you want to be on. That's all. Send me a message and we'll get you on there. I know you got wins. I don't know how many you got this year, but Marcella, by all means. The door is open anytime you want to make the trip up. We got space for you. Robbie Gustin, won the Domination Points Championship this year. Didn't even look like he was going to have a point season when things got up and running and turned it around, and now he's celebrating with his new bride, and everything is great for Robbie Gustin taking that points championship home. A couple other victories around the United States. Sam Williams came away with a win in Chamberlain. Dylan Rohrbach was second in that one, and Dana Brellinger, 2 years out of the car, came away to pick up the win in St. Genevieve, Missouri over the weekend as well. Congratulations to Sam. Finally got everything to work right in the car, and it was a well-earned battle coming with a win there. Dana Brellinger back in the car after 2 years. That was exciting to see. Monster Mash, again, is the penultimate event for Domination. Pumpkin Smash at the Ottawa Dragway, October the 17th for them. And then our last big winner of the weekend, Jacob Pruisman and his lovely wife welcoming Maren Joe into the world on October the 1st, 7 pounds, 8 ounces, and it looks like everybody is doing well, according to Facebook. Congratulations out to the Pruismans on extending their family. We appreciate it. Marcellus says, sounds good, so it looks like we don't have to worry about booking the second half of the show. We don't have to worry about booking the first half of the show next week. I'm going to hold you to that. There's Will Steinbeck checking in here at The Wire. We are just about done and out of here. Episode number 326. It was a good one. We appreciate everybody who tuned in to be part of it. Brian, again, he couldn't be here. I know he wanted to be. I got ordered to work, so we'll be catching up with him here later in the week. And then coming up on Saturday, I'm doing the play-by-play for the Hometown Havoc event with the Realistic Derby Project. Looking forward to getting that one in the books as well. Again, if you got any news, notes, or anything that you want on the show, shoot me a message. We'll get it on there for you as best we can. Look forward to catching up with everybody here in the coming days as we get more stuff put together, as we get ready for episode number 327. Right back here again next week. We're looking forward to seeing you there. Thanks so much for tuning in. This has been Crash Course. That's going to do it. We'll see you.
The Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.